towards the progress of that shit country called Nigeria, where most people are living in darkness. And that has been the narrative for 63 years. And that narrative is still being played till date. So an average international community or countries will probably tell you that, don't worry, it's just a matter of time. Everything will be fine. There will be progress and everything will work out the way we want it. But in reality, it's lies. You know, I was watching a documentary last night before Konutobemilo, and I'll tell you what the documentary is all about in just about a few minutes. Let's start my TikTok. So for how long are you going to wait? So that good morning everyone, and shout out to those of you that have joined us so far. I'm gonna appreciate everyone in just about a few minutes. So I need something to hold this. So 1 minute. I think I have my speaker here. My voice has to be very low because the house, everybody is still sleeping. I don't want to wake the family up, so my voice cannot go more than this. Moki Bugwale Nkonsi. All hail Biafra. I greet people in the northern part of Nigeria, and I greet people in almost every part of Nigeria. And welcome once again. How do you know that a country is not going to work? That is the question. I mean, if I say Nigeria is not working, how do I prove that it's not working? Is it just by saying it's not working, or do we have evidence to back it? Because that is the first argument between us and many elites. Good morning, Mr. Peter Pan. Dizzy Man, good morning. Mr. Peter said Yoruba nation can have the best schools in Africa and also dominate music globally. It will unlock the untapped talent at the global level. And you're quite right. Mr. Ganelo Yede, good morning. Dennis, good morning. Good morning, our TikTok followers. Instagram, good morning. And good morning to my beautiful mom. Good morning to the MixLR. Good morning to those of you on the Facebook. And welcome once again. Good morning to those of you in America. Good morning to those of you in Europe, Asia, and Africa. My name is Olami Koiki. Good morning and welcome once again to the live broadcast. This is live, okay? The time is 14 minutes past 5 a.m. Where there's darkness in Nigeria, there's no electricity. People are charging their phone with power banks. I mean, I got one as well. So, 63 years, many of you rely on this small device that is not meant to be used at home. It is meant to be used when you're outside, just to boost back the phone. Good morning, Mr. Daniel. Good morning, boss. But unfortunately, 63 years, majority of you rely on this device. Good morning, Mr. Ganil Oguns, so that you can be able to have a bit of power. So when I press this now, it tells me how many bars I've got. You see, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's not meant to be used in the house. Ile color designer phone. You're meant to be using these outside. But 60-70% of Nigerians rely on these Chinese power bank. Okay, you can see it is blinking, so that you can be able to power up your device. Some of you, your fridge is not working because the light goes in and out, and it makes the freezer and your fridge. So most of you cannot even have what we called backup food in your freezer because you don't even have the money. I mean, the naira is bouncing like that, like yo-yo. But I'm asking the question. The question is, how do we know that a country is going down? What are the indices? I want you to put it in the comment section so that I can read it. What are the indices that will indicate that a country is going down? So that is the question I'm asking this morning. I'm looking for my mouse. I don't like using the laptop mouse. I love my external mouse because it's better for me that way. I don't know whether you are the same thing like me. So more like my low mouse or the laptop. I mean, I got a message from someone yesterday saying, Mr. Koike, Jotebani laptop, they send it to me. My wife is going to do a final year. I mean, that country is a bastard country. I pity a lot of you back home. I just pity a lot of you. I mean, how can somebody going to final year not get laptop? I pity a lot of Nigerians. But you will learn. You will learn in a hard way. You will learn in a hard way. I just want you to be seeing my bad view. It's still very dark outside. Very, very dark. People to sleep. It's very, very dark. This is my beautiful wallet. Money not there inside, but at least get peace of mind. You know. So what do I get here? I have my Oyster. I have my driver license. I have my. I cannot show you so many things that I don't want to show now. I have my NUJ, my press card. I have my bank card. Most of you that are into fraud in Nigeria, fraudsters, very soon you will not be able to do fraud in Europe and America because we are tightening the belt. We are tightening the belt. Most of you that love to commit crime, you think say you fit do yahoo yahoo. Very soon they are upgrading the system. If Sanjob Air Beauty, good morning my beautiful auntie. She won Wale, she won Sharon. Thank you so much for joining. Shout out to everyone around the world. So you can see my beautiful map. Remember to support Koike Media. So you can see the map there. Nigeria is somewhere around where the Shito country serve. Where's Nigeria? Lori Buruku country. That's Nigeria, okay? That is the Shito country somewhere in Africa where life is becoming very difficult for many people. So that is Nigeria. Normally I put something there to indicate Nigeria. So let's leave it like that. So Moki Bugwale and Konsekwe, a very good morning and welcome. I hope everybody is fine. Nigeria, the crime scene. A country where no work. But many people they try to make it work. I don't know how you're going to do that. Because in reality, Nigeria failed every is not likely to come back alive. We must kill Nigeria finally. Okay? We must kill it finally. So, how on a day, my people? I sometimes go to work with my doors unlocked. Don't try that in Nigeria. Mr. Samuel Afolabi, good morning. We'll continue with the gospel. Bass, majestic, Mr. Terry. You can come here and come and abuse me. I'm going to abuse your father and your mother that failed to tell you that Nigeria is a shito. Ekaro, Grandma, Adebin Pawoni, Tokyo 778. Good morning. If you come here, if you abuse me, I will abuse every part of your generation. I think somebody wants to talk to me quickly. Let me see. Even though I don't like bringing people in because Mr. Sam, go ahead quickly, please. You have just a few minutes.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
Because my family are sleeping and I don't like to wake them up.
Okay.
Go ahead quickly, please.
You can hear me?
Loud and clear, sir.
Thank you very much. So I'm a bit familiar with. I'm not from Nigeria.
Okay.
I'm familiar with Biafra.
Okay.
The struggle and.
So where are you from exactly in Africa?
I'm actually from Somalia.
Oh, I have a lot of my friends there that are Somalis. They're quite hardworking, you know. There's so many of them in UK. Go ahead.
I am sympathetic to your cause.
Okay.
And the reason I am sympathetic to your cause is I'm sympathetic to all causes of people who want to do self-determination and liberate themselves from centralizing controls. And if that means Biafra has to be independent,
okay,
I would say that is legitimate cause. And also, I am also aware of most African borders are fake. They are borders designed by the colonial powers.
Okay.
They're very unjust. They force one ethnic group to be part of other groups.
Okay.
Without their agreement, and these borders are basically unjust, and they need to be reviewed.
Okay.
And dismantled.
Okay.
So yeah, so I hope one day most African borders would reflect the true nature of the people's settlement and the willingness of any group to be part of any arrangement. So in the case of Nigeria, people don't want part of it. That should be their legitimate right.
Wow. And I'm so grateful. As you were talking, you know, I quickly went to do what they call copycat. I've just gone to look up on Somalia. It was created in 1960 from a former British protectorate and Italian colony. Somalia collapsed into anarchy following the overthrow of the military regime of President Sahib Barre in 1991. As a rival warlord tore the country apart into clan-based fiefdoms, an international-backed unity government was formed in 2000. The struggle to establish control with the separatist movement into relatively peaceful northern region of the Somaliland and the Puntland. However, unlike the Somali... So the question I want to ask is, you talked about the borders, and which many Africans probably do not understand that all these borders were all created. I was watching the documentary yesterday, and I'm just going to go on my Netflix so that I can get the name of the documentary. But the question I want to ask is, okay, the topic of the movie I was watching yesterday was, could Hitler have been stopped? I mean, I haven't completed. I have to go back to it. It is a documentary that was shot in 2022. Could Hitler have been stopped? I have not watched it up to where I can really dissect it and analyze it. But talking about the borders, the British were able to control most of the borders, just like the other I mean, yesterday I talked about the Belgium controlling, you know, the Congo Republic. Over 10 million Africans were killed. Why do you think these borders were created is the question I want to ask you, my brother.
The borders, borders were created simply because the European colonial powers just wanted to grab a land that had certain resources for them to exploit, and they could care less about our historical settlements. Because don't forget, in Africa, people had their own internal borders between them. All the ethnic groups knew each other, where one group's border ends and where it starts. There were all kinds of histories between all these people. But because of these arrogant European powers that invaded the continent and they partitioned them along their resource interests. And that's why you have all these ridiculous maps that have no connection to culture, to history, to anything, and that forced many groups to be part of another group, or in many cases, big groups to be split into areas. So that's what motivated them: resources. Geopolitical interests. That's basically the reason. They had absolutely no care for our interests, for our human rights, for our self-determination, for our history. They could care less. That's why they created all these fake borders. And if you look at African borders, take a look at them. All African borders all follow straight line. That's how you know these borders were all fake, because no border naturally would follow a straight line. Most borders naturally must have a squiggly lines. This is how natural human settlement is. This is how historical settlements happen, because no border can...
Africa is not only the second largest...
Sorry about that. Go ahead.
You know what? So that's how you know it was just a border created on a piece of paper between a bunch of arrogant colonial powers, basically.
And I just picked up something, I just actually posted. It says Africa is not only the second largest continent by land area and population, but also the home of remarkable diversity of cultures, languages, and religions. But in the nutshell, we have been forced to speak a different language to our real traditional language. We have been told that our culture is diabolic. There's some certain cultures that sometimes we might not be very comfortable with it, but we've been told that this kind of culture is not something we allow. But in reality, we are now seeing in Europe, the kind of culture that sometimes we are now asking the question that, is this acceptable? But we are told that we have to accept it, even though I don't want to mention those kind of culture that we are talking about, that we have been witnessing in Europe, for some of us that have lived in Europe and America. But we are told that we just have to accept it, it's now the new norms. But our own culture, we have been told this kind of culture is not acceptable. We can still work with different culture. I was talking about yesterday a year 9 student in Nigeria where was asked questions in English. He couldn't speak. I'm sure if they've asked him the same question in our local language, he would have been very fluent around it. So before I let you go again, the question is, what is the importance of cultural language, in Africa?
So can you rephrase the question?
What I'm asking is, what is the importance of the cultures and our languages? Because we have different languages in Africa, but we have been told that English should be the mode of communication. I am now asking, what is the importance of that language and culture that we are currently losing? I'm sure many Somalis are probably speaking, English, Queen English, and probably forgotten about their own culture and their languages, even though I know most of them in the UK that I've met, they still retain those culture. When you see them, you can tell easily that these are, Somalians. I can easily tell, because when I see them, especially their mode of dressing and the way they communicate.
Yes. Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, language is it's the most important marker for cultural identity. I totally agree with you, and I often often say that if you lose your language, you really don't have a culture, right? That's the most important aspect of who you are, really, even more than a religion, at least from my perspective. For me, my language is more important to me than religion, basically.
Wow.
Because religion is something anyone can change, but language is totally something that's part of you. And if you lose your language, you're nobody. So I agree with you on that. So the unfortunately, the problem in Africa is because they have all these ethnic languages. I think it's kind of practical for them to use some other foreign language, because otherwise then they have to choose one among or two among the other ethnic local languages and make it the lingua franca of the country,
Of the continent.
but of the continent. But the problem in these countries is that these countries are all fake, right? They are all created out of European colonial powers. This is a legacy of European colonial powers. They're not real.
You know,
Like a country
I was gonna, sorry to cut in, I was gonna ask you, was the purpose of the English language that was forced on most African countries, was it for the fact that to make it easy for mode of communication in that continent, rather than, because I'm sure the colonial era, they will have struggled, to work around different languages. So they probably say, let's give them the English language, the Franco, which is those that speak the French language. It will be very easy as a mode of communication, and yet the main indigenous languages were probably just pushed back, while the French language is spoken in where the French colonized, the English is well spoken in where the British colonized. Do you think it was just to make life easy, for the mode of communication among all these, fake borders that they created anyway?
Yes, I believe it's internationally. Don't forget, African countries, they're basically international. Basically, they are nations, right, that have been forced into a fake borders that were created by foreigners. So they basically they have distinct identities and distinct languages. So for them to coexist, I think they were kind of aware of that fact that they had to settle on one language. Okay. And I guess that is the reason why that is happening. I don't really have a problem with these foreign languages being used. I think people can become bilingual. For example, they can have their own ethnic language, be fluent in it, and at the same time speak one other international language. There's no shame in that. That in fact should be encouraged.
Okay.
I just have a problem with the idea of existing people like Biafra people, for example. I read about them. They're like close to 60 million, if I'm not wrong, the total population. How can you have 60 million people and they can't have their own country? How is that logical?
That's not logical.
Right?
Yeah.
It makes no sense. It makes no sense. And because of these fake colonial borders and those European powers that colonized Africa, partitioned Africa into these fake nations, that's why Biafra people are unable to have their own country. I am not against Biafra people speaking English in addition to their own languages, or French in addition to their own languages, or any other language they could choose if they want Mandarin in addition to their own languages. That's their choice, right? And but the idea that you don't have your own jurisdiction, you don't have your own right to determine your future and create your own space because of some stupid borders, fake borders that were created by other people is unacceptable. and shouldn't be accepted
And,
by
and,
anyone.
and the question is that, I mean, I do follow the Home Office here in UK, and I'm just going on their Twitter in the last few, yesterday. This is probably, what was picked up. Today, we announced over 50 hotels will stop taking asylum seekers by January 2024 as part of the first phase of our hotel exit program. We can do this because our work to stop illegal migration is having a real impact. The small boat crossing are down by more than 20%. I want you to take note of that. The other one is there are 2,510 asylum decision makers in place at the end of August meeting. Our target an increase of more than 1,200 since December. The other one says the asylum legacy backlog stood at 90,000 as of December last year, but was down to 54,000. Why do we get this issue of migration of Africans trying to exit Africa into Europe, for better life? It seems now that those that created these fake borders are now concerned that, it seems that we are getting more asylum seekers and they can no longer, yeah.
So, brother, I don't feel, maybe I am bad if I say this, but I don't really have sadness in my heart when I see that the UK is flooded by refugees and immigrants, because UK, in addition to the French and some other European countries, they were part of the partitioning and the chaos of Africa, right? So they deserve to get a taste of their own medicine. That's how I look at it, right? If their demographics change as a result, good. I welcome that too. I don't think that about it. These people have damaged our society too. They have done so much damage to us. The country that Biafra is part of, that fake country called Nigeria, were created by them. Don't forget that.
Yeah.
Okay? Why should you worry about them? You shouldn't worry about them if they get millions of refugees coming from all. By the way, in addition to this, they are also behind all kinds of wars. They were responsible for the collapse of Libya as a country. It was a okay nation, and they turned into a completely failed state. Same thing they did in Iraq. They destabilized, many countries. The Syria, same thing. So all these refugees are a function of their criminal form.
Of what they created in the first place.
Sorry?
Of what they created in the first place.
And they do that every single day. They do that. They interfere financially, economically, politically, militarily, in all over the world. And all refugees, to me, is just this just a symptom of the causes, and the causes are them. They pretend, we get these refugees coming to us. Well, stay out of their countries. Why have you created all these fake borders that created inter-ethnic violence in Africa, right? Because they are fake borders. So in one case, you see one African country that has like hundreds of ethnic groups that don't like each other, because the British and the French wanted, for their own resource, interests. They just wanted to create a space for themselves.
And I think we saw something like that similar in the Niger Republic, which is just still is still an ongoing with the with the current coup that took place in Niger. I'm really somebody's asking who is this being interviewed. It's just one of our followers on Twitter space. His name is Sam. He's not from Nigeria. He's not from Nigeria, but he's an African. He's from Somalia. So but he understands the case and the issue of the Biafra. So I'm just trying to get a bit of a tapping of his brain.
I understand. Besides, also, brother, one thing, I'm a human rights type guy, so I technically don't follow any particular group. Like, for example, you'll see me talk about. You will see me talk about the rights of the Palestinian people.
Okay.
But you will also see me talk about the danger of Islamism
Okay.
and how Islamists are supposed to be considered dangerous people, dangerous group of people.
Okay.
And many people in my community actually don't like me because they're kind of biased towards religion. I
Okay.
am not. In some cases, I even hide that I am I'm an atheist. I don't even tell them that because I can't. If I do that, then I can't sometimes even talk to them. They might actually, not even want to allow me to be part of their discussion. So sometimes
So you become
I
like
behind
so
your
it's like a stigma. You become like part of a stigma that you are not being accepted for certain things that you say or certain things that you believe in.
Exactly. So what they do is to they force you to become a sort of undercover person,
Okay.
and they force you to come up with terms that are kind of help you to actually hide that. So, for example, you can't, because you are anti-Islam, let's say,
Okay.
so you are going to say something like, oh, they would ask you, do you believe in this? And you would say, I am secular. You would say secular. Some of them are just a bit smart and they would recognize what the secular, they would say, oh, secularism is against religion. And then you would explain to them and you say, no, it's just a separation of state and religion, state and church. And it has nothing to do with religion. You can have your own religion. You say some of them, because they are so extremist and brainwashed by the Islamism, they don't really understand this.
And I think
And
we are sorry to cut you, Mr. Sam. We are having
yeah,
similar problem in one of the states in Nigeria in the southwest where the Yoruba comes from. There's a particular state called Kwara State, and it seems that the kind of
yes,
doctrine that is coming out of there right now, we should be concerned. I mean, for the future. And like you said, I'm a Muslim, but I'm very, very open to almost everything because I've probably understood much better, to be able to accept, even if I don't believe everything. But part
yeah,
of what you're discussing right now, I was thinking that it's just happening within the Nigerian context because in the northern part of Nigeria, the reason why we're having a bit of friction, they want to accept the Sharia and enforce that on every one of us that doesn't believe in Sharia.
yes, because they are Islamist,
Okay.
right? It's a poison. We have it in Somalia. It's a poison, and it's a nasty way of thinking. It's an anti-progress.
Wow.
It's anti-individual freedom. It's anti-woman. It's anti-everything. It's a stupid ideology. So it has nothing. Even if the people tell you, you might come across sometimes a Muslim who is an Islamist. Because don't forget, you can have a Muslim who agrees with you and believes that practice of Islam should be done within the personal space of the individual, and it shouldn't be used in politics. That kind of Muslim you would call that person a secular person. But if you don't come across people like that, you would most likely come across people who would tell you that Islam doesn't actually separate itself from politics, from the state. It's actually part and parcel of the state, and it's the same thing. And if you are against it, that you are not a real Muslim. You would come across these people most of the time. Unfortunately, my way of dealing with this is not sometimes head on. Like, I don't really approach them head on. I kind of use secular language, and human rights basically is what I use. The concept of human rights. But eventually, one way or another, you will have to actually declare your position. If the conversation continues and expands, you really would have no choice but to actually tell them, Islamism is unacceptable, and that would trigger them. The minute you that word Islamism that triggers them, because an Islamist is easily triggered by the word Islamist, because they think this word is a Western label. But the reality is, it's not a Western label. It's just the Islam plus ism, right? And it just signifies those who would use Islam in politics, which they do, which they cannot deny, which they necessarily have to admit. For some reason, they have an issue with a label that actually reflects who they are. That's just the reality, right? So it's not a good thing. In Africa, we don't really need religion. We already have other problems. We have inter-ethnic problems that the foreigners actually exploit, take advantage of. And we don't really need this. This is a very big problem. Like, it creates a lot of chaos.
Should we be concerned for the future ahead with this kind of, new, Islamist that is penetrating, across Africa? In Nigeria is a big issue. I mean, we had, a president and a vice president that are Muslims. It has never occurred before. It has always been a Muslim Christian, but it seems now that it has been accepted. Does that mean that, future ahead, we will be concerned? I mean, I will be very scared to live in the northern part of Nigeria because, even as a Muslim, they are not accepting the kind of Islam that I practice, because I'm told that, I'm still an infidel as far as they're concerned.
Yes. The problem, so there is a problem with is Islam, and the problem you have with Islam. I was once a Muslim myself. I don't consider myself Muslim today.
Wow.
Because the reason is I just realized Islam is a religion, Islamic culture is a system in which plurality is not accepted, no matter what you do. Only if you look at the history of, or the contemporary history of all the Islamic countries today, take a look at them. Every Islamic Muslim majority country where Islam is somewhat made, the problems of the religion are somewhat mitigated. It's usually done through force. Take a look at all of them. It's not done through democratic means. It's not done through, through the choice of the public. It's not done through a competitive electoral system where politicians of Islamic persuasion are able to compete with the secular ones. It's always like a secular group would actually suppress the Islamists by force. And that tells you all you need to know about Islam. It's a system where actually you are always constantly adjusting against these guys. You're always adjusting, because they don't believe, within the Islamic doctrine, they don't have a concept of secularism. They just don't have that. Their religious scholars don't talk about this.
Okay.
They don't have this. They would always quote, Prophet Muhammad said this, Prophet Muhammad said that, the Quran says this, Quran doesn't want this, and there's no alternative Islamic narrative that counters this. So all you are left with is just suppression. You just need to suppress them. And unfortunately, suppression has its time limits, because eventually what happens is people lose to them, because they are constantly, the war of ideology is not being dealt with. In the case of Nigeria, just like Somalia, nobody actually, if you notice, we always say we're fighting against terrorism. We never say we're fighting against Islamism. Why is that? It's because Muslim groups, moderate Muslim groups, don't want to acknowledge the problem is a religious problem. You understand? They turn it into a tactical problem of a contemporary violence issue. But that is actually stupid to call something terrorism without discussing the ideology that actually drives
the problem.
Yeah, it's just meaningless. It's a kind of silly way, and you are basically not addressing the ideas behind the group. Because you not address those ideas, it means you will never tell the population to understand what they're facing. You understand? And the reason many moderate Muslims don't do that is because they still are afraid to challenge fundamentally the basic concept of Islam, which is that it does not have separation of state and religion. You need to have leaders who say, no, we don't accept this. No, we don't care about this. If you want to practice your religion in private, we can do that. And if people quote Muhammad and say, oh, well, the Prophet said this, and or God said this in his Quran, then they should have a direct answer to this. And they should say, simply like any other religious group, we don't actually care about this.
And why you were saying all that? I mean, I went back to a particular case that took place, in Nigeria recently. The lynching of a young Christian called Deborah Yakubu. I mean, this took place on the 12th of May 2022. Deborah Samuel Yakubu was a second-year Christian college student, was killed by a mob of Muslim students in Sokoto State, Nigeria, after being accused of blaspheming against Islam.
Yes. And blasphemy, being called blasphemer, being called infidel is basically par for the course. These guys, this is what they do all the time, anyways. And it's a very difficult. Just think about this. I'll give you an example. Christian, one can be a Christian, one can be atheist, one can even be a secular. So let's go down, these three different labels, and let's go to the least offensive, theoretically, that would be to them. So that would be a Muslim, secular Muslim. That would not be acceptable to them, right? And I know that in Somalia that would be similar to just an infidel, like somebody would be called an infidel. Like, these people are nasty. So if you challenge them, if you tell them all these things that you're talking about are nonsensical, they would call you, you are basically an infidel. If you are a Muslim but you are somehow you go against their doctrine, they would call you, they would accuse you of blasphemy. So if you are a Christian, they would tell you can't spread Christianity in our country. For example, Christianity is not allowed to be propagated in Somalia. I'm totally against that. Why should Islam be allowed to be propagated in Somalia? And I believe in free speech and the right of anyone to propagate whatever it is that they want. You can even propagate, if you want, satanic beliefs. I don't really care, to be honest. That's how extreme I am when it comes to freedom. So these people, they can't be accommodated reasonably. All we are left with is tactics and counter violence, suppression. We're just suppressing, right? It's like dealing with, and they have this capacity to regenerate themselves. The reason they do that is because nobody actually addresses the very ideology that drives them. Like, right? So that's why in Nigeria, in Somalia, in many any place where these people are numerous, we need to really use the right labels for a start. Like, we have to say Islamist. We shouldn't be saying, if we are saying terrorist, we should say Islamist terrorist. We cannot just say terrorist. It's just unacceptable. Yeah, you can't say.
I mean, going back to, I just want to give a background, for the benefit of those, that doesn't understand, the lynching of Deborah Yakubu, last year, 12th of May. I mean, Deborah Samuel Yakubu, a Christian, was accused of posting a blasphemous statement against Islamic Prophet Muhammad. She allegedly made a comment on a WhatsApp group criticizing the religion-related post that another Muslim classmate discussed in the study group. She believes she would have been reserved for the academic purpose. These all took place as she eventually was burned to death. These would never occur or happen in the southwest part of Nigeria that also have Muslims and Christians. But it's a different kettle of, fish up there in the northern part of Nigeria. And when we look at Nigeria, it's a Federal Republic of Nigeria that operates a court system. Both systems can punish blasphemy. The Constitution provides a customary circular system and a system that incorporates Sharia. The customary system prohibits blasphemy. The question then is, why do I want to live with this kind of, animals, as far as I'm concerned? Because these are animals, I mean, I don't see myself living with this kind of society.
Yes, absolutely, and I agree with you. I totally agree with you. You cannot live with people like that. It's just not acceptable. I just don't like. That's why I come from the culture, and I'm telling you, they are animals. Yes, we are all like. Look, I live in Canada, okay, and Canada is. I would say it's a liberal society. What's a liberal society? It's an open society. It allows all kinds of people to have their individual space. The people are allowed to be individuals. They are individual thinkers. They are necessarily against racism. They are necessarily against collectivism, tribalism, if you wanna use that term. So, these people are not like that. They don't have a concept of individual liberty. Their concept of existence is like a team. You have to be a member of a tribal team, and you have to further the goals and the interests as defined by the tribal team's agenda. In the case of Islam, Islamic agenda, right? It's just ridiculous, and they cannot. These Western powers that created these fake borders, like Nigeria and many other African countries, they basically put together people who cannot live together, right? It's just not possible. That's why I always like when I see London. Somebody said the other day, "Oh, London is becoming Islamic," and I always laugh because I said, "Why not? It should become Islamic. Didn't London create Nigeria and put together the north and the south?"
I get. You're quite right. I mean, I do follow a couple of English nationalists on their Twitter, and each time, they keep bashing why there's so much immigrants in the country, and I'm thinking, why not? Because if the colony haven't traveled as far as destroying what was there, the King Leo of Belgium killed 10 million Africans. He created a zoo where humans were used as zoo keepers. They were used for so why not? But unfortunately,
I'm not a Christian, brother, but I'm not a Christian. I am kind of atheistic in my worldview in terms of religion. But one thing, at least, I understand when it comes to religion, with respect to Christians, is Christian. Correct me if I'm wrong. Christian peoples don't actually force you to go to their church. If you go to their church and you are spending money and you are contributing to the charity, that is, and the priest or whoever is the pastor or whatever he wants his money from you, That's fine. Christians also are kind of open to the idea of criticism of religion. They are not going to kill someone because the Bible was criticized. They don't have that kind of view. And they are extremely, relatively speaking, more tolerant than Muslims. And that's just a fact. We have to admit this. That's a fact, right? You can't say, oh, that's fabricated. It's not fabricated. That's a fact. And atheist guy like me, I would rather live in a Christian majority place than an Islamic place. Is I can't even survive. It's just a reality. That's a fact. Just to give you how bad Islamic belief system is, in the 1970s, Siad Barre, the one you just read, the military, he was a dictator.
Okay.
Muslim too, but he was a dictator, and he kind of decided to take the country in the direction of communism. And the communists don't really like religion, as you know. So the Soviet Union was kind of influencing him. And they told him, like, get rid of religion and, at least minimize the influence of religion over government. So his first law was to say man and woman are equal under the law, as the Soviets actually were doing, because the Soviets were extremely secular. And the Islamic scholars in Somalia said, no, that's against Islamic law. That's against the Quran.
Okay.
What are you doing? You changing the Quran or what? So 10 scholars were against him, imams, and you know what he did? He executed them.
Wow.
And he executed them. Then for 20 plus years, nobody actually discussed religion because they were all shocked. But that tells you that is how Islam is. You have to kill them or suppress them to make them stop. There's nothing else you can do. Right? It's not like these people are voluntarily, peacefully trying to influence people. They don't believe in those things.
It was born in 1909 on the 6th. It died on the 2nd of January 1995 at age 85. Mobad Sabi was born at a time when the birth records were unknown in Somalia. Speculation have been cast upon his exact birth year ranging. Somebody talked about a few things on the comment section. It seems that they're enjoying you, Mr. Sam. Somebody said the caller is scared of the Sharia law. I picked that up. Somebody also talked about that African doesn't have a religion anyway. I want us to come back out a little bit out of the religion, and let's come back again to, the self-determination, the borders and all that. I mean, the UK is hosting a UK African Investment Summit in 2024. The UK exit out of European Union after whatever was the issue between them. It seems now that the UK wants to work more with the African countries, even though we know that most of these African countries are not the real borders. I'm going to give you the names of the invitees coming up next year. Algeria, Angola, Botswana, Cameroon, Cote d'Ivoire, Democratic Republic of Congo, Egypt, Ethiopia, Ghana, Kenya, Malawi, Mauritania, Mauritius, Morocco, Mozambique, Namibia, Nigeria, Rwanda, Senegal, Sierra Leone, South Africa. I'm not sure why Somalia is not there. I'm not sure why. Tanzania, Tunisia. Somalia has not been invited. I'm not too sure why.
What is the conference you said? What is it about?
It's a UK Africa Investment Summit 2024.
Okay. Somalia is mainly, I think, kind of associated with Middle East, US kind of interests.
So they are not more of the UK. So Somalia is not on more of the UK side. Is that what you're saying?
No. I don't think they have that much of a
trade.
Never had that much of a connection. If anything, you could probably see through the European Union, maybe they might show up for those conferences, but I don't think UK generally is like, it's not like.
So what is the current situation in Somalia, as it is right now? I mean, what is the current situation? Is it stable, stabilized? from
It's a country that has different divisions and regional divisions, and so in the northeast you have a region called the Puntland. It's basically has its own government, and the northwest they have another region called Somaliland. It has its own government.
Okay, I'm just looking at the map now. I can see the Puntland, Puntlan, is a disputed land, the Somali land, and the Somali. Okay, let's get this fact right. What is the difference between, because I can say Somalia and I can say Somaliland?
Yes, Somaliland is a secessionist region.
Okay.
They want it to be. They don't want, just like Biafra people want to be independent.
Yeah, because I've seen them on the UNPO. So the Somaliland is also agitating to have their own independent country, if I'm right.
They do want to have their own independent. They have legitimate points with respect to the South. Basically, the South is like Nigeria. What Nigeria is to Biafra.
Okay.
There's so much chaos in the South, and people just don't want to be part of that. In the Puntland region, those clans basically they're not declaring to be independent, but they definitely are practically independent.
Because that was in 1998. I'm just looking at the BBC. Puntland, an area region of the northeast Somalia, declared itself an autonomous state in August 1998, in part to avoid the clan warfare engulfing southern Somalia.
Exactly. So that's basically what they did, and they pretty much, they are like another country, but they're not another country in name. They're just practically another country.
And how is the relationship between the Puntland and the main Somalia?
Puntland is part of Somalia nominally, so they participate in Somali affairs. They are part of a federal system.
Okay.
But pretty much the government of Mogadishu absolutely cannot tell them what to do. Like, they have no control over them.
Wow.
Like, how much of a control they cannot. For example, president of Somalia, he cannot go to the Puntland region and pretend to give orders. Just think about Lagos. What is it? The capital of Nigeria. Let's say president of Nigeria.
Abuja.
Yeah. So think about this. Abuja wants to tell Biafra people what to do, and then Biafra people could just ignore that. That's exactly the situation in Somalia. They cannot tell them.
This would be good for me to do a bit of more research on it, and educate my listeners on that area, because I didn't know that.
Somaliland is even more separate, in the sense that Somaliland literally doesn't even acknowledge the existence of Somalia. They don't even acknowledge that. They would usually pretend that Somalia is like another country in their media, and they would say, oh, there is a country called Somalia and they are doing this today. They don't even acknowledge them.
And the population in Puntland is just under 5 million. It's 4.9. The square meter is 212,512 square meter. The capital is Garowe, administrative, and the Bosaso is the commercial. The life expectancy is just almost the same like Nigeria. 53 years for the men, 56 years old for the women.
Don't forget, for the life expectancy, don't forget, Puntland has no oil, no resources, no international recognition. Nigeria should do extremely better than what they are doing, but because they are so corrupt, that's why you have life expectancy like 53 and 50 something. It shouldn't be comparable. Like, Puntland is just a place that's separated from a war-torn place called Somalia, and whatever they did it without resources, and they're just trying to be peaceful, right? They're not trying to be part of that chaos, because don't forget that southern Somalia is heavily controlled by Al-Shabaab, which is equivalent to Boko Haram, basically, right? So this is Puntland is basically saying this is an area that we want to make sure that our Boko Haram doesn't show up in this place.
Yeah, because I'm just looking at some of their chapter. It says, although Puntland Charter provide for freedom of press, the authorities have resorted to detaining journalists and blah, blah, blah. But it's a good thing to get a bit of background to this, because, you know, most of us do not even understand what is happening, you know, across other parts, you know, and we do appreciate you tonight or this early morning, you know, and let me know whenever you're ready to exit. I will let you go without disturbing you.
Oh no! I appreciate for giving me the opportunity to explain. And technically, there's not much difference. All the problems that you deal with are the same problems we deal with in Somalia. The same problem we deal with in many other parts of Africa. They, generally speaking, if you look at all our problems, generally are because there's so much corruption. There is the use of religion. There is inter-ethnic conflicts, tribal conflicts, and basically there is and because of those things we have bad economies. Refugees are leaving our lands, going to other places, right? So technically, all these security problems are a function of that too. So we have all those problems.
So even though this, I mean, I'm still very interested in the Puntland, because I'm looking at it from what might happen, you know, from what the Biafra are planning to do. They might eventually declare, even though international community might not accept them or not. But it seems that Puntland is operating, even though with little resources, and like you said, I mean, if the lifespan is 56, 53, and comparing that to Nigeria should even be more than that. But unfortunately, Nigeria is just a failed shithole country, because I mean, we shouldn't even be comparing the lifespan of Puntland with Nigeria that has more resources.
Yeah, so Biafra has a lot of resources.
Yes.
Biafra should do way better than Puntland.
Okay.
And they should do, in my opinion. They have a lot of resources. They probably have, because there are 60 million people, they are very likely able to come up with so many people who are well educated who can run that state. And there's no excuse for them not to be successful, to be honest. And Puntland was completely created out of scratch, like completely.
Out of the anarchy that took place during the Somalia, civil war or whatever was going on at the time.
Absolutely, yeah, it was like that, and they didn't even have. How do you say this? These people, like, they didn't even conduct elections. So because of that, by the way, they faced Islamist takeover.
Okay.
And the Puntland leadership, to defeat the Islamist takeover, they actually got help from Ethiopia. Okay. And Ethiopia helped them, and they completely decimated those guys and totally took over the region. And then because there's so many, Somali politics is done through clans. Equivalent to that in Biafra situation would be ethnic communities. And what happened was, all the clans, since they didn't have money to run elections, they just created. They looked at all the clans and they came up with, okay, we have 66 clans, and all these people can send representatives, and then we create a convention which elects the government. And that's how they have been running their system since then.
I'm just going back to a report on the 21st of June 2023 on Al Jazeera. The headline: Armed factions in Somali's Puntland agree a ceasefire after the clash. armed factions in Somalia's semi-autonomous state of Puntland have agreed to a ceasefire. A local reader told Reuters news agency on Wednesday, a day after at least 26 people were killed, 30 injured in a clash over proposed changes to the region's voting system. The regional forces and the fighters loyal to the opposition fought fixed street battles in Growe, the Puntland capital, on Tuesday as the local parliament debate constitutional changes. So what do you think have to be done for them to be accepted into the international forum?
They are not actually. They don't want to say we are a different country.
Okay, they just want to be okay. So in a nutshell, they want to be similar to like what we have in Great Britain. We have the England, we have the Wales, and we have the Scotland.
Yeah, they just don't want. Their mentality is very simple. I'll give you a simple analogy. So let's say Nigeria wants to be. They want to give Biafra people orders. They want to tell them what to do. Let's say that. Okay. Let's say that's the case.
Yeah.
Nigeria, in the case of the UK, if London wants to tell the Scottish people what to do, the London taxpayers and the England taxpayers, they have to contribute. Since they are the biggest economy, they have to send so much money to Wales and Ireland and all those people. They have to spend money to keep them within the union. They really have to do that. They have to give up so much money to keep them. In the case of Nigeria, they spend nothing, yet they want them to be part of them, which is ridiculous. How can you be part of a? You're not contributing anything to this, but you are actually taking money from them. And it's the same situation in Somalia. They don't believe in taking orders from the center when the center is meaningless to them anyways. So that's the mentality, right? If the center wants to pretend nominally to be a country called Somalia, they can also pretend to be nominally to be part of Somalia, right? And that is the mentality of Puntland. If these people want to pretend we are part of Somalia, fine, as long as they're not telling us anything and we're not taking orders from them. If they want us to follow them, they have to spend seriously. Do they have the money to do that? No. So why should they get to what to do? That's the mentality.
What advice? I mean, we are the Yorubas. We are campaigners, also asking for the right to self-determination. We want to have an independent country. The Yorubas, going by what we have, very big numbers in terms of population. We have our own. What we call, I'm just going to give you a background quickly, and I'm going on the UNPO. I'm sure you, because I've come across the Somaliland on the UNPO, is the Unrepresented Nations and People Organization. So, I mean, population-wise, the Yoruba is about 44 million, but when we calculate those outside the country, the number will definitely shoot up. The Yoruba people numbered over 44 million, making them the largest homogeneous people in Africa. The majority of this population, around 40 million, is located in Nigeria, while the Yoruba make... Yeah, go ahead.
It's a big nation. Yoruba people are a big nation, just like
the Biafra.
And yes, oh yeah, because just to give you an idea, that is the total population of Kenya. Wow. Imagine that. Yeah, 40 million.
So what should we be doing more, in propagating these self-determination campaign, both in land, at home, and outside as diaspora? What advice will you give for someone that have understood similar cause in the Puntland, the Somaliland, the Somalia? So because you have 3 regions operating inside Somali.
What advice I can give, in my opinion, is that, and from the experience of Somalia, is that in order to do this, to power is concentrated in most African countries. Power is concentrated in the capital and captured by generally elite group that belongs to 1 or 2 ethnic groups, generally speaking, in Africa. And that power is heavily concentrated. High highly centralized. In order to find a solution to this problem, you need to have a deconcentration of power. In fact, you need to actually have not just even delegate. Centralization should be more like devolution. In the case of UK, a lot of power is devolved to Scotland, to Ireland, to Wales. In where I live in Canada, power is devolved from the center constitutionally, not as a favor by one government, which can easily
manipulate.
Can easily lose power after one election.
Okay.
It is part of the constitution. In Canada, provinces have a specific powers, serious powers. For example, they control their education, the healthcare completely is under their control. They are technically in charge of their large part of their tax.
Sorry to cut you short. Which was exactly what we heard during the agreement of the independent in 1960. We had a regional government which allowed us to have a control of our resources and operate, separate as an autonomous. But unfortunately, that was destroyed, in the 60s. Now we've
and that's why you have to destroy the fake central government of Nigeria. It doesn't represent. It's a fake. It's a corrupt. It's a government captured by the elite. It doesn't. It's just not. It's not sustainable. This can actually lead to a civil war. Actually, millions of Nigerians die if this is not handled through devolution of power. You literally don't even need. The way I look at it, you don't even need to have a strong center. You need to have a strong regional autonomies that can decide on 90% of their interests, and you just need the center for, what's the best analogy I can give? Like, there's a country in Europe called Belgium.
Yeah.
Belgium, literally, the federal government only controls the railway. That's it.
Wow.
They don't. In Belgium, the regions even have the power over their trade relations. They actually can open embassy for trade relations, for economic cooperation. They have connections. So the government just control this. The federal government of Belgium just controls few things. Maybe they control the.
But Sam, but why is it so easy for all these European countries to operate in that level, but it's difficult for Africans to have the same operation?
Because Africa, politics is captured by the corrupt elite that have inherited these fake powers from colonial powers.
Wow.
And they are simply doing what the colonial powers have
Wants
done
them
to us. That's it. That's what it is. They have inherited all these fake borders, and they just don't want to give up. Just as colonial powers were actually unable to give up until they finally realized they couldn't actually colonize people without any cost. So we are being colonized by black people in Africa. That's basically what it is. We are colonized by our own people, by our own corrupt elites.
But those,
and if you look at it that way, that's what we have.
But those at home in Nigeria, they're listening to you right now. I mean, you're like a neutral person from what I have been discussing in the last 3 years. You've come on board this morning and you've kind of opened worms, things that probably someone might be thinking, is he saying the right thing? What will be the message to the average Nigerians that think that an election will solve the problem that we've been discussing, knowing fully well that we are the regional government? And according to one of my listeners here, Just Reason, say Sam is just describing the sort of regionalism that was terminated in 1966 by Agunrisi's government. What we negotiated in 1957-58, I've been to the Lancaster House. This is where the negotiation took place before we got independent in 1960, even though we know that the British rigged the first election in 1959 to favor the northern part of Nigeria. The North were not ready for independence. They wanted to remain under the puppet of the West. The Awolowo, the Zik wanted independent. We agreed on regional government. that was being practiced, the Yoruba were traveling very faster. You know, we had the first television before France. We were well educated. And today, I mean, the dilapidated system in the southwest of Yoruba land today cannot be compared. It has become so bad. But I want you to tell those at home that are listening to you and those that will have the opportunity to listen to this broadcast as a repeated. Do you think that the election conducted in Nigeria and most African countries will solve our problems?
Yes, I actually want to go deeper than that.
Go ahead. You have all the time.
I want to give people incentives. So say a region in Nigeria, an autonomous region, is doing good. Let's say they're adopting good policies for their people. They are cracking down on corruption.
Somebody say God bless the speaker for me. Somebody say God bless you. Mr. Bamidele Mohammed, go ahead.
So let's say they're doing all of that stuff, right? They want to do good, but they're still nominally part of Nigeria. Like they cooperate with the central system on common interests, whatever the common interests. There are some common interests, right? That the center can take care of. Let's say if somebody runs from your region, he commits a crime and he's a victim, and they end up in another region. You want to have a system where actually that guy can be captured and he can be handed over back to where he committed the crime. Okay, so those things, for example, diseases, for example, common interest, interstate transport, common interest, stuff like that. Outside of that, entirely the economy is handled, education, infrastructure is handled locally. Okay, let's say one region develops and becomes very successful, but then let's say, because it's considered logically one country, freedom of movement exists. Let's say other people are moving to that region because they're desperate for opportunities. They just want to take advantage of that. I would welcome that, right? I would welcome those people. I would welcome them. But then I still believe that regions should have a control over immigration as well. They should be able to know, who is coming. They should be able to decide who votes in their elections. I literally want to incentivize. Don't become a refugee. If you want to, move from the north and you want to go to the south, for example.
Yeah.
I don't believe that a guy who built his region should be accommodating the bad policies that are happening in another part. It should be the same. So I want to incentivize these African leaders. You want to have autonomy, use that autonomy, but then you get all the rewards. And if something goes wrong in your autonomy, don't unload your refugees to other people who are doing good. So to me, that's how I look at it. I would incentivize decision making, maximum decision making. Whatever you do with it, it's up to you. That's it. That's how I look at it. Then we wouldn't be even worried about separating, because what's the point of separating if all it is just let's have trade, internal trade. Freedom of movement would be subject to some rules. Like, for example, the UK left the European Union, we know. I know they are a sovereign country, I understand that, but they left the European Union because of too much freedom of movement.
Migration.
You understand? They had a control over their immigration. And they just wanted to, I would say the Africans should all have they should all have one market for when it comes to labor. At the same, more like Dubai. 90% of the people in Dubai are foreigners, but they are not able to vote they don't have control in the government. You understand?
Yeah.
These people are all workers, and they all do business there. It's like a business space for them. So if there is one region in Nigeria that's very successful, they should get all kinds of skilled people from everywhere if they want to. But just like Dubai gets all kinds of people from any corner of the world. and that's it. That should be the rule. That, to me, that's how I look at it. Right? I just don't believe. I don't believe in these fake African elite centers. I just don't trust them. It's just the way I look at it. Right? This kind of centralization is just too much. And even if you want to think about what do you think about what in the case of Nigeria, it should be more like a market. In Nigeria, let's say Europa, I don't know the Europa regions, the names of Europa regions, I don't really know, but let's just say one region that belongs to one Europa community, they just want to be part of some kind of arrangement. Let's just call that sovereignty association, and they can just submit their requests, and other regions can look at that within same Nigerian space. And if those regions want to accommodate that Europa region for, let's say, 7 years, they can be part of that arrangement, and they can work with them. So it's like a competitive system. You understand? It's like a market. I want to be a consumer of this jurisdiction shopping market. So let's say if a region doesn't want to be part of the Abuja control, they should be able to choose to combine themselves with another region within the same country if they want to. It's up to them. But the bottom line is you need a competitive system where decisions are made fairly and they are not captured by elite. Right? So that's to me, that's how I look at it. Just like a market economy. You have consumers, you have competitors. There's no monopoly of decision making in this market. Everybody can present what they want. Imagine if Abuja was competing in this market. I don't think they would have any takers. People wouldn't join them. They would lose. They would lose to them, right?
Someone just quickly, we had Dr. Benjamin says a unitary system is a very sneaky way of depriving indigenous people of their resources and, most importantly, limiting regional progress. He went further to say one individual in Abuja is ruling over the affairs of all indigenous peoples is the closest thing to authoritarian monarchy. Abuja controls the military, the security, the borders, resources, and the law. Go ahead.
Exactly. He's right. 100%. Abuja should only control municipality of Abuja. That's it. They should have no right to tell other Nigerians in other parts of Nigeria what to do. It's disgusting. It's absolute nonsense. It makes no sense. This is why Africa is poor. Why do you think Africa is poor? Because of this kind of corruption, this stupidity is why a lot of African countries are poor. These elite people who sit in a small city and they think they can tell 100 million people what to do. It's ridiculous. It's stupid, actually. And totally, he's right. I'm totally against, man. When it comes to decentralization, I believe power should be decentralized and should be devolved as much as possible and made to be as close as possible to the community that is affected by that power. That's what I believe. Yeah, I mean, that's the natural way of looking at it, because what is the other, if Abuja gets, let's say, a district, in Nigeria, imagine if there is a market of jurisdictions and all districts and all regions are participants. And let's say a district decides to be part of Abuja arrangement. They can choose. If they want to be part of a corrupt space, they can choose. It's up to them. Every 5 years they can choose. You want to be run from Abuja? Go ahead, choose. Right? But they don't have a choice right now. They have violence. There's a violence. There's suppression, and people don't have freedom. Right? They cannot choose. They cannot say, I want to be part of this arrangement. Right? Imagine if the UK was told by European Union, you can't leave European Union. You are forced to be part of it. Right? That's exactly what you have in Nigeria. Same thing. And many African countries.
And when you look at the structure of the politics in Nigeria, I mean, I'm just going to give you, I've got it in front of me on my website, which you can check out later as koikimedia.com, all one word. The House of Reps, the total between the Igbos, the Yorubas, and the South is 161 members of the House of Reps. The senators among all these three regions is 51. Now let's go to the other northern part of Nigeria, and I hope you're taking note of the numbers. The Northwest, the Northeast, the North Central, and FCT, Abuja, total House of Reps is 191. Let me take you back one more step. The total number for the same region, the Biafra, the Yoruba, and the South is 169 compared to 191. The total senators in Abuja from the Northwest, the Northeast, the North Central, and Abuja is 58. Compare that back again to the Southwest, the South, and the Southeast, 51. So the argument is, most people say, take your problem down to your representatives, but these problems will be knocked off quickly by the same numbers that is much more bigger than ours, even though most of our representatives are not interested in the right to autonomous.
So it is actually not, it's not a good, it's not important the number of representatives you have. Like you can have actually one person representing you. What's important is the power of their jurisdiction. What kind of power do they have, right? And you can have 191 representatives who are just doing the bidding of Abuja, who are unable to actually make decisions for their regions.
But right? The question is, they
don't have power. They cannot do nothing.
But one part is contributing more to the old federal character and is taking back less. I'll give you an example quickly. Contribution from the federal allocation. Jigawa State is 92%. Their contribution from the state revenue is 8%. Lagos State contribution is 36%, but the contribution from the state revenue is 64%. So Lagos is the marketplace that provides more for the federal capital, but in return, Lagos is not taking more share, and also Rivers State. But there is more numbers of citizens living in Lagos. We have about 20 million, people living in Lagos State. So infrastructure, the resources is very, very, in a very tata, what we can call it. So the question is, I understand it's not about the representatives, but when you look at the, the most federal allocation dependent zone, Southwest is 11%, Northeast is 19%, Northwest is 18%, North Central is 17%, Southeast, the Igbos or the Biafrans are 18%, and the South are 17%. So I understand you're saying that the argument is not about the numbers, but could we say that we are being cheated by the North State that also have the numbers when it comes to the local government? We have 774 local government. They have the numbers more than us. And this is what the British created. You got to remember that. The British created
within that
this.
system, yes, you are cheated, yes. Within the current system, yes, that's a cheating. It's not fair. It's not a fair representation, however corrupt, however ridiculous the system is. At least the system should represent all people equally. Even though the system itself is a bad system, at least you would be equal within the bad system. Yes, I agree.
Okay.
Right.
Because the Yoruba has the highest internal generated revenue in Nigeria in 2020, according to the National Bureau of Statistics report. The Southwest, internal generated was 560 blah blah blah. The South is 263. The Northwest was 146. The North Central was 181. The Southeast was 96. The Northeast was 56.
So we have this kind of, I have seen this kind of argument develop in the Canadian space where I am right now, Canada.
Well,
I'm in Canada.
Dr. Benjamin says I should invite you more to come and enlighten us.
Yeah, thank you. And in Canada, we have that. We have provinces that are called half provinces, the ones that contribute more than they receive from the central system. And we have provinces that are called the have-not provinces, the ones that actually get more from the system than they contribute to the system. We have that arrangement in Canada. But the problem in Africa is we have is if someone says, I am contributing more into this than I am getting out of it, it's a fair statement. But then what happens is if they want to leave, they want to be out of the system, in my opinion, they should be allowed. Like, let's say Lagos wants to be its own independent jurisdiction, and they want to keep all their revenue and they want to have everything just for their people. I'm in favor of that. I'm not against that. I actually support it. However, Lagos leadership can't control other regions in the country too. They cannot contribute to the control of other people, politically speaking. So that means you're either contributing to the have-nots, and the have-nots have a right to be part of this space, and you then get to decide on what is happening in that big space. And if you're not willing to do that, then you shouldn't be telling these poor regions how to develop and what they are to do in their space. You understand? You have to choose. You have to choose. Right?
Because we were actually doing very well during the regional government. We were doing faster than what is known as the South Korea today. I mean, our leader told us, Professor Banja Kitoe, that when he traveled to South Korea in 1982 to make a presentation, he was telling them that Nigeria has the human capacity, they has everything. But it seems that all that failed. And 82 to now, if you go to South Korea, you know, GDP, the population is doing very well compared to Nigeria that has the human resources, but yet we are unable to, you know, to make use of it. The dollar to the naira today is about 1,235 to the dollar. The pounds to the naira is 1,500 naira. The reserve is less than 4 billion, even though we are told it's about 34 billion. So it seems that the corrupt politicians have enriched themselves using the puppet from the West, and that is why, you know, when you go back again to the summit that I talked about at the beginning, the UK African Summit coming up next year. According to the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development World Investment Report, the UK is the largest holder of the foreign asset in Africa. The UK has a unique position as a global financial hub, leading investor in the continent, convening power. The UK African Summit 2024 will use this to secure mutually beneficial major investment into African countries, facilitate the two trade investment. So it seems that election that is being conducted after we came back into, you know, after a very long problems with the, you know, the military election kicks back again from 1999. It has been stable, but it has not brought in the development that many Nigerians would have wanted to see. I mean, as I speak to you right now, many Nigerians do not have access to the basic things of life. I mean, I'm having my tea and my small whatever I'm having here, but many Nigerians cannot even eat 3 square meals. Go ahead.
So look at Nigeria is a big space. It's a big country. 100 million plus. 200. 200 million. Okay, that's a lot of people. That's insanely a lot of people. That's so many people there. But the thing is this: the decision making is heavily controlled by
Abuja,
the elite people in Abuja and their friends and the people they appoint to different regions or whatever they do. But the reality is, if you want development, every community in Nigeria, they know more than you, more than me, more than any other person, what the needs of the local people are. They know because they deal with it every day. They look at their situation every single day. However, they have no power. in terms of attracting investment to their region, to their districts. They have no in terms of making industrial decisions that relate to industrial policy. They cannot decide on whether or not they actually want to make their own, produce their own drugs. They can't do nothing. They have to do everything through the center or some similar bigger super region central.
And you're quite right, because the 1999 Constitution.
In terms of decision making, you need the competition in the system. Like, for example, this conference that you're talking about, people going to the UK and sitting with all these people and all these discussions. Who is representing Nigerian regions by need? Like, for example, in a region of Biafra, it's a big region. Let's say there is an area of that region that just wants to go to South Korea, let's say, and they want to attract investment to their region. They should be able to do that. Like, for me, the way I look at it, decision making has to be competitive. Decision making has to be based on, here I need this need that needs to be dealt with. I don't need to go to Abuja to get it done, right? Somebody can come back to you and tell you, hey, you're basically creating an anarchy of decision making, but in reality, you're not doing an anarchy of decision making. You're actually making use of the powers and authorities that would be given to the center anyways. Center should have been doing this job and they failed in it, so we're just doing it for ourselves, using the legitimacy of the government of Nigeria, but we are implementing it in our space. And it would be entitled. If you refuse to do that, what is left is just secession, separatism, chaos, hatred, ethnic conflict. That's the alternative. That's all that there's left.
Nigeria is 63 years old. This was when Nigeria was celebrating the 58 years independent. Let's listen quickly to this Professor Akin Oyebode. This is what he said regarding the Nigerian 1999 Constitution.
Listen, and they will not stand up to Nigerians are complacent, and they will not stand up to immoral conduct. Then we justify that particular conduct. It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. And quite sincerely, the judges too, they have part of the blame, but they don't have all the blame. The problem, I think, like the Patriots pointed out a long time ago, is that Constitution, Decree 24 of 1999, is a diktat. It's a military diktat. It tells a lie against itself, what you are brandishing as the Constitution of Nigeria. It's an illegitimate instrument. There's nowhere where we all agreed that
even though it begins with "we the people."
No, that's the lie that I'm talking about, and I'm not original here. The Patriots have said it, okay, and Ben Nwabose continues to say it. I attend meetings on the Black Table, where Ben Nwabose presides, and he will tell you that Constitution is a fraud. That we have to jettison it and do an autochthonous Constitution for ourselves. So please let us recognize the limitations of the 1999 so-called Constitution. We need a Constitution which reflects the spirit of the age, which captures our imagination. And
well, that was a professor of international law and jurisprudence. Sam, you've listened to that 1 minute audio. This is being played all the time to many Nigerians. Many Nigerians do not even understand that constitution is very important to make a country to progress. What is the importance of a constitution? Let's start with that. What is the importance of a constitution in any economy or in any country?
So a constitution, for me, the way I look at it is should be more of a guidance, and it should be more than you would need a specific fundamental rules that are not easily changeable, but I believe those should just deal with human rights, like the basics of human, the right to life, the right not to be tortured, the right to have free speech. Those are like universal human rights that have to be in the Constitution. Beyond that, the Constitution should technically should be open to the changing times. In other words, it should evolve with time. It should have that freedom to be flexible, and and maximize the decision-making capacity of the people that this Constitution is supposed to serve. So, and why would we do that? We would do that because the Constitution should be a tool to promote the interests of the people, and not just the interests of the elite. You understand? And it would be flexible enough to accommodate new ideas and new changes. It shouldn't be. You shouldn't be having a constitution in which you actually see that there is a problem, and in order to amend the constitution, you have all these obstacles in the way of amending it. It should be strong enough to protect human rights, but it shouldn't be too strong to be inflexible for development, for maximizing decentralization and devolution of power. Okay. So that's how I look.
All right, now let's listen to the other senator. This was a senator as well, talking about the same constitution. This was 4 years ago. It was a senator, Olushola Adeyeye. Let's listen to this 1 minute, then I'm going to ask you the question. Let's listen to this.
I dare to tell this nation today that this is the problem. This constitution can never give us progress. This constitution can never give us peace. This constitution can never give us unity. And unfortunately, most of us in this National Assembly, we don't have the spine to face what we need to give this republic to have peace and progress. What do I mean? This constitution has 68 items. 68 on the exclusive list. This constitution has only 12 on the concurrent list. And those 12 are written so nebulously, so fraudulently, that you know that the intention is to even undermine those concurrent lists.
Well, you've listened to what we call it the fraudulent 1999 Constitution. This was put together as a military dictator. I want you to comment on what you've listened to there. And is it possible to amend something that is fraudulently? Can we amend
something that is fraudulent?
Yeah, I mean the Constitution. Should we try to continue to amend it, or we pull it down so that we can have a Constitution that works for everyone? You've listened to two individuals that talked about our Constitution. What can you take out of it?
Well, they're very critical of it, and if they're actually if the people are just calling it fraudulent, and I can see there is this wasn't properly written Constitution, but when you want to amend something, most constitution, in fact all of them, amending formula is way strong. There are many obstacles in the way of amending. Like amendment of constitution is not easy because it's the fundamental law of a country. So I just don't know what the mechanism of that 1999 constitution is to amend it in the case of Nigeria. But I don't need anyone to tell me that Nigeria has a lot of problems. I can see it myself, and clearly the Constitution is is probably part of that as well. Maybe there are some parts of the constitution that are okay and that make actually sense, but the fact that Nigeria doesn't have a serious devolution of power, a competitive way of decentralizing the system based on the needs of the people, and the fact that you have this unequal representation within a corrupt polity that's captured by the elite, it's a problem. So I would say change it, but if you change it to something that
Reflects
favors
everyone.
competitive decision making. Yeah, decentralization should actually take the form of not just the concentration of power, which is still dependent on the center. Center can take it back whenever they want. It should be more like devolution or a strong federalism, more like the one that you see in Belgium. And if you can't get the one in Belgium, you should have the one in the UK or the one in Spain, which is called the devolution. Basically, center simply gives up so much power to the communities and to the regions and to the districts that they actually there is actually a real competition in the nation, and the locals have no excuse to blame. Abuja is my problem. They can simply deal with the local decision makers who are jurisdictionally empowered to do all the things that the center used to do, or most of it.
The last part before we're going to end the program is going to take us back again to the UK exit, the BRICS exit. This was something I picked up as I was about to start the program, so I just have it there on the Daily Express. Kemi Badenoch, she's a Nigerian, a Yoruba, but she's one of the cabinets for the current Prime Minister Rishi Sunak. Kemi Badenoch hails a massive BRICS exit win as the UK trounced every European Union nation in a reminder blow. The UK is now Europe's top destination in a startup venture capital. New research has indicated, according to Kemi Badenoch, hailing the news as a massive vote of confidence in the BRICS exit Britain, according to the International Trade Secretary, widely tipped as a possible future Conservative Party leader, was commenting on the HSBC Innovation Banking latest report covering the third quarter of 2023. Not only is Britain outstripping every nation in the European 27, EU 27, it also comes in the third in the world, with only the US and China attracting more cash. Ms. Badenoch commented, "We know the UK is the best place in Europe to invest, and today's news is a massive vote of confidence." What I just wanted to talk about briefly is the UK exit European Union. They're still doing very well. We've talked about so many areas. We don't want to go back and repeat ourselves. Looking at the UK exit out of the European Union, they decided to stand on their own. Why can't we have something similar, where we decide our own fate, and then we still have a good cordial relationship within Africans and Europeans and the US and China? And that will be our last conversation on the program before we end it. Go ahead, Sam.
So the UK example, you are relating this to what the current situation in the Nigerian system of governance?
Yes, that's correct. Yeah, yes.
So when you are saying that, you are thinking in terms of the center versus the regions, or I just want to know exactly how.
After the exit, they are still doing very well, according to the trade minister. If we have the Biafra exit Nigeria, I'm sure they will do very well. But why is it that this is becoming very difficult to pass the message to the average Nigerian that, if we have got all the necessary tools, the autonomy, the constitution, maybe we can still be one. But since all this is not working, the Biafra wants to exit, the Yoruba wants to exit, I'm sure we can still do very well. Just like a lot of us were concerned, not everyone, the UK exit, They are still doing very well, according to Kemi Badenoch. The question again is, the exit of certain groups of people out of Nigeria would not stop any further progress of whatever they're going to become in the future.
Yeah, I understand. I see where you're coming from. So let's take a look at the exit UK. Why the UK exited the European Union? I believe they proposed a bunch of alternative ways of dealing with them. I don't know if you remember, if you even read about this. The UK actually told the European Union, we want to be part of the European Union, we'll continue this, but we just like to have a total control over our immigration, and the European Union rejected that.
I do remember, yes, I remember, yeah.
Okay, so that was what actually precipitated the exit. And in the case of Biafra, I think they just I don't think they necessarily want to be totally independent. Like they just want to be their own country because they just want to be their own country. I think they were just forced to do this because they saw there is no other way to mitigate the damage that is happening to their people because they are part of Nigeria that doesn't want to reform itself or doesn't want to give them total control over their region, while it's still remaining nominally part of Nigeria. So because of that, I think I agree, exit is the best option that you have. Like, you can have a jurisdictional exit, which is what the UK was looking for, which is what the European Union rejected. When you don't have a jurisdictional exit, the only thing that you're left with is physical exit, which is what they did, basically. Yeah. So either way, I am not like, I'm not biased toward one exit or another. The bottom line is we have to focus on what are the driving forces of the willingness for some people to leave one area. Is it the jurisdiction? If it's the jurisdiction, then give them the power. Let them be part of the...
Or it could be the marginalization.
Sorry?
The marginalization.
Marginalization is a function of a complete lack of jurisdiction over their society. Biafra people are not at the table when there is discussion of trade and international relations. Biafra people should be able to have their own trade embassies in the US, in the European Union. They should do, every region in Nigeria should be able to do that. They should be able to drum up business overseas. They should bring, let's say, Korean manufacturers to their area if they want to. They should do whatever they want. But because they can't do that, because they don't have that jurisdictional autonomy, then what happens is the alternative is just to leave the place, to say Nigeria is too corrupt, and that would be a legitimate grievance, whether people like it or not. That is a fact. Nigeria is not flexible, therefore people leave them. That's the fact, right? If you are not able to accommodate, don't blame those who are simply telling you that we have no option left. We just need to leave, right? So, and divorce is not necessarily bad. Nobody wants to be part of a union at any cost. You understand? The union itself has to have a price, or the cost of the union shouldn't be higher than the benefits of the union. If the benefits are way less than the costs, therefore that union is not worth keeping it. So everything has to be costed, right? Everything has to have a evaluation. Just like we are all consumers, we go to when we buy, we look at product, we look at the price of the product, we look at the quality of the product. We are making decisions, and a country is no different from that, right? Constituents of a country, they all have to. A country is a tool that serves you. You don't serve the country, right? The country is is a tool that you make use of. If it's not useful to its members, the members should have options of making it better, or if it's not salvageable, people should have the ability to just walk away from it, right? Peacefully, obviously.
Wow. Sam, you've been an amazing. I've sent you an email through your Twitter and my
Thank you.
and my WhatsApp number, and I'm sure I might have to bring you in, some other time again, so that we can have this sort of conversation. But in just 2 minutes, a message to all my listeners that will be probably like, wow, where did you get this?
I'm adding all your members here. I can follow all of them, and always welcome. I have no bias against any group. I am more policy oriented. If I see that you have a problem with an entity, don't forget that, let's say in the case of Nigeria, I am not saying Nigeria as a country is your problem. I am just saying lack of policy options is your problem. And if that is from the center, then the center needs to either reform or get out of your life. Basically, that's my position, right? And people have a right to do that. I don't really like to look at things tribally. Like if I see one source has a good point, I would acknowledge that. I would say, yeah, that makes sense. And if I see that whatever it is that they stand for doesn't make any sense, then I would say, yeah, it doesn't make any sense. So we should all be able to do that. We should not be ideologically tied to one position or another. Everything should be tested by the evidence.
Wow. Thank you so much for the time spent. And like I said, on your message, you'll probably pick the message I've sent to you, the email and the WhatsApp number, and I'm sure we should communicate, probably sometimes. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Wow.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much.
I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That has been Sam speaking to us in the last 2 hours, or probably an hour and a half. I'm sure that was not the area we wanted to go, but I'm sure a lot of you learned 1 or 2 things from an independent brother. Somebody's asking, what is your Twitter handle? The Twitter handle would be Secularist89. That's SECULARIST89. Secularist89. So you can follow the brother, and I'm also going to, what I might do, probably do a bit of a retweet of some of his last posts, so that you can be able to see that on my timeline. So if you're following me on Twitter, on Koiki Media, I've just retweeted some of the things that the brother have said. He has shared a lot with us. Let us continue to have open mind. You don't have to agree with everything he has said, but one thing is Sam, and he has actually left anyway, he has done justice to the program. That was not where I wanted to go. Muki sister me, Amaya Ward, the fashion designer of our time. Because I know say na UK we dey. If any problem, they go rectify them. But I know they promote business for Nigeria. I can't vet it. Sam has left us. Na me you now. What were you able to pick up from what Sam said? Did you pick 1 or 2 things, or you were just listening and you're like, another wahala? Interesting. I woke up, robo lórí bed. Okay. Il était montant. So I decided to come down, turn the phone on, went live. I thought I was going to be the only one in the broadcast. And I realized, no, people know they sleep. From TikTok, the number stood. From backup YouTube, the number stayed there. Instagram, people stayed there. Instagram, people stayed there. Koiki Media YouTube, people stay there. Facebook, people stay there. Another Facebook, MixLR. And thank you so much. Somebody says, Mr. Koiki, you know, Lenika ma loruko wa gongon. So I used to call the brother Plan B, but I'm not going to give you all the full name, but I'll just say Mr. Ogumola. Thank you for listening to, let's use our Yoruba name, TJ Baba Moriembe, my brother. Wow. Onibiti Obamodi. Mr. Deji, well done with your informative programs. Thank you so much, sir. Good morning, Mr. Yemi Fatoki. Now we there now we. And thanks so much to our Biafrans that you know, Chizoba. Thank you so much. Daniel Ekeomo, Darrell Temidayo, Ward, Shegun, and two more Simon Ekpa. Everybody is Simon Ekpa. This one is Simon Ekpa Gladys. And kudos to Pastor Van Van. These are some of the Biafrans media. And I think he's the deputy media for Biafra government in exile. Mr. Kende Durojaye. How did you see that conversation? It was quite lengthy, but we learned a lot of things. I have to go back and talk about the Puntland. You see, say the guy talked so much sense. Nigerians must understand that if you want freedom, it must start today between me and you. We don't need the guns, we don't need the cutlass. It can be done on the round table. But when the center in Abuja, very powerful, they control every one of us, and they drop peanuts for me and you to work with, you can see that it will be very difficult for Nigeria to progress. It will be very, very difficult. I cannot remove or add to what the brother have said. He spoke eloquently without being biased. He nailed it from angle that I'll probably not even think about. If you've just joined us, you will have to rewind back to listen to. Sam is based in Canada. It's the first time he's joined. I mean, maybe he's been listening to me. You can see the reason why sometimes we say, let us speak English so that we can bring other people to come and talk to. I say Yorubanica. Mokegbon is Sam de Adebanjoni. The zoo organization is going down. Nigeria máa pín. Ìgbà tó fẹ́ pín yẹn láì tí mọ̀ ni, wàláì, ó máa pín. Many people want to save Nigeria. How many of you want to save Nigeria? Put your hands up or just say yes, Koiki, I will do everything to make sure we save Nigeria. How many of you want to save Nigeria? Maybe those ones on the Twitter doesn't have a clue what they are trying to save. I see them there. They're trying their best as well. You know, they think that we can still save Nigeria from disintegrating. The brother even talked up to the point that if care is not taken, Nigeria Omalano Bass. The Bapik Osoro Konla Meji. During this conversation, he actually talked about that the way Nigeria is right now is like a gas. Toti fesita. Oko nidi shano. Nobody wants that. I mean, I'll be stupid to say I want Nigeria to go in flames. But if you do not allow peace, it will go in flames. It's as simple as that. It's the reality. We shouldn't be shy away from saying that. But I know some of you don't like that. What do you mean say Nigeria will go in flames? Sit down there and be talking that Nigeria will go in flames. It is cooking already. It is just waiting for whoever is going to light it. It could even be some of your politicians. I saw yesterday on Instagram I copied it, is on my timeline as well, where security detailed to Governor Kogi, Governor of Kogi State, Yaya Bello. It looks like they want to shoot each other. Ogi Bear, I saw your message. Thank you so much. Because you keep saying you sent me a message. I went to read it, even though I've not replied, but I read it already. Thank you so much, sir. So, as they look me too, they look now. The only difference is we know if we feel each other. The technology never get there. If you get there, some of you go slap me. This boy, they disturb us for social media. Go sleep. You know, get wife. You know, get Abby. Some of you gonna talk like that. I pity you. They've turned some of us into problem. Larry Lamina, thank you so much. That was a beautiful program. Ẹ̀gbọ́n mi, ẹ káàárọ̀. Ìgbà wo kan ló ìgbà wo kan ni flame here is like the time bomb that will explode at any time. Nigeria is just waiting to explode, and I'm not joking. There's a lot of tension. There's some tension that is already internal that I can manage. There's more tension even after the election. Some Nigerians still believe that Tinubu never won the election. So there's a tension there. It has nothing to do even with self-determination campaigner or the one way that they call us secessionists, like that Olorigban Salaman, where they call himself Dr. Abati. You don't chop money like bastard. Go sit down for a rise, they talk nonsense. It was under Jonathan. Don't chop money. Sunday, yes, he said it, the way the zoo Nigeria is going to catch fire soon. I pray that we can sit on the round table and resolve all our problems. But all these politicians are thinking that they're like, the big boss. What thing I go do? I was on the bed and I was listening to my Egun and I was dozing off like that. And a woman called and was talking about her experience of how she was defrauded 30 years ago, both by a northerner and another man from Anambra State, of so much money as at the time. $15,000 in 30 years ago is a lot of money. My mom lost $20,000 before, traveler check, in Itro in the 80s. These are very, very big number of money. So I pity those of you that wants us to fix Nigeria. Even your politician that you want to help fix Nigeria, they don't want to fix Nigeria. If they want to fix Nigeria, a lot of things would have been sorted out in 24 years of democracy. Not that Nigeria doesn't have the wealth. It has the money. It has the human resources. But it is just deliberately that they will keep you below par. And that's what they've been doing. But when we sit here, Obikayo Kayode, thank you so much. So let me see what is happening on the social media. Let's talk about what is happening on the social media. So let me go on Twitter. Let me just refresh and see what is going on. Simon Ekpa is always trending, and I'm sure you all know why. Buhari has been trending for some time now. I don't know why Buhari is trending, dead or alive. Buhari is no longer in government, but he keeps trending because Buhari is a bastard that destroyed the economy of Nigeria that was not good in the first place. He has no clue of running a government. But the people we don't chop under Buhari 8 years now. You where you they shout, say Baba, say Baba, say Baba. I remember most of you, say Baba, say Baba. Don't cry now. Eloni pounds Laroy, 1,500. Where's my currency? You know I have my money here. This morning, dollar, it don't reach 1,235 naira. So if I give somebody, say And that is selling. If you're buying it, I'm sure it will be about 1,240. So maybe I still understand. I know some of you don't need the dollar because you'll be saying, Koiki, get out. I don't need the dollar. So why are you talking about dollar? No problem. But everything that needs to be imported in Nigeria, they're not going to take Naira. They need dollar. So let me give you an example. Nigeria is finding it difficult to pay the airline. You know, that was the reason why Tinubu went to Dubai on his way from G20 in India. He had a stopover. He lied to Nigerians that he has resolved the problem of visa status permit by Nigerians living in Dubai. Go and ask them today. They're still having problems. Maybe they're still working on it. I don't know. He also talked about Emirates and another airline will be flying to Nigeria because Nigeria would pay some of the debt to those airlines. Because those airlines does not need your Naira. They don't need this shit or Naira. They don't carry passenger. Passenger pay with Naira. Your government is meant to pay them back in dollar. Your government doesn't have enough dollar. The dollar, there's not enough dollar in the reserve. Emefiele and Buhari say Baba and Emefiele, don't bastard. They don't chop all the money. Give the money to Dangote and all the big boys. They've defrauded Nigerians. So where you will get caught up is when you will be asking yourself, you go to the market, you won't go buy the thing where you buy yesterday. By the time you go there, the price don't change. Go and look at the inflation in Turkey. They change, you know, in Turkey, every day they change the price tag in the store. So if you go and buy something in Turkey supermarket today, by evening they don't change the price. So some of you that are still not understand, I'm sure some of you probably have been saying it now. Data and saying, how much are you spending for your data? Thank you so much, Ogumola. Saving Nigeria is not even possible. I know some of you don't want us to go, and I'm thinking, why? Why is it that you don't want us to go? Dissolve Nigeria. But Koiki, is it not going to be the same set of people? Yeah, well, we will have the same Yoruba people, but it will not be the same system. The system in this country in 25 years, I've lived in this country, continue to be upgraded. And I give you a very good example. 25 years ago, when I came here and I was driving, the police doesn't have the access to check your insurance on the spot. Somebody says he spends 6,000 Naira every month for data to be able to be online. That is a lot of money for somebody, average Nigerians. 6,000 Naira. I mean, it's easy for some of us in Europe to dash you 10,000 Naira. But remember that 10,000 Naira is equivalent to, where's my pound sterling? It's equivalent to 10 pounds. The basic salary in this country, basic. Okay, I'm sure our good guys, our cleaners, the truck driver, they probably picked up the rubbish, or probably maybe not today, I don't know, because I didn't hear the sound of the truck. They get nothing less than maximum 15 pounds an hour. But the government structure is you must pay 10 pounds something, less than 11 pounds. So if I give you 10 pounds, that is 1 hour job I've done in this country without tax. But 10 pounds in Nigeria today gives you equivalent to almost 15,000 Naira. Nigeria should be able to pay you at least nothing less than 100,000 every month. We have the money. Number one, there's so much crime in the crude oil sector. We cannot account for the losses of crude oil revenue today. The farming industry, should have given us another heads up. Many of you are hardworking, but you cannot succeed. So you've turned your anger on people like us as if Nami create the problem for Nigeria. And that's why you come here and say he's looking for money or day. Me, I'm looking for money. Go and ask how much is with Dino since he's been in politics. Go and ask Saraki how much is with him since he has been in politics. But the gullible ones will come here now and be writing nonsense. This one is looking for money, go and find a job. But the real criminals that are operating in Nigeria as your politicians, you cannot even have access to see them like this because they don't need to see you. They only need you to make you become their puppet. You cannot even talk to them the way I talk to them because some of you are so scared under your balls. If you talk to any of your politicians anyhow, they will send DSS to pick you out. The same DSS that should be finding criminals that wants to come into Nigeria, that wants to come and commit crime against humanity. They are using that against the citizen. So every day, some of you think that when we sit here, we don't have a job. The truth is bitter. And like Simon Ekpa said, the PM government in exile of the Biafra, if you don't want peace, you want problem. If you think that we cannot live together, let everybody go their separate ways. But you cannot hold people that wants to go. You can't. It's just a matter of time, everything will explode. If you think that the Yorubas that believe in the right to self-determination will back down, we are not. We will continue to agitate because it's our right. And we will continue to explain to you why we need to exit. Don't come and tell me about, one economics, say something about Nigeria, it will function. Those are lies. No economic plan can fix that bastard Olori Buruku country. And don't come and tell me, hey, stop swearing for that country because my Bible says, Koni Dafun Ati Bible. You come and tell me that nonsense. I am not a Christian. I study up to Christian religious knowledge at the secondary school, up to my school cert. And at least I have my WAEC. Tinubu doesn't have his WAEC. We don't even know which secondary school he went to anyway. And don't tell me about Quran. This is my Quran. Right inside my house. My Bible is upstairs. Bomb bastard. Mukia Isidollah. If you use religion that is meant to be your personal problem to destroy you. In another few hours now, every social media, now prayer. When people should be going to work and producing sparklism, okay? Ask God, voice of one, thank you so much. I pity a lot of you. I am not telling you to take arms against the government, but our voices must come as one formidable force and shut it down. Don't come here and be saying, hey, the Igbo destroy regional government. Agunrezi destroy regional. Is it? Are we still in that time? We are no longer in that time. We're in a different time zone. And like I said, I was watching a documentary. Could they have stopped Hitler? Maybe we should have stopped Buhari from committing genocide against people in the southeast. Do you know how many Igbos he killed in the southeast? Tinubu is doing the same thing right now. And you think that the Biafrans will not fight back. They will defend themselves. But we don't need to go through that route. And now come here and tell me the Tinubu is making an economic plan, blah, 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 blah. Oloribu, where's the Sibajo now? Bomb bastard, short man, devil, evil man. Did they not put Osibajo in all the economic plan? What plan has it done to make your life better after 8 years? Bomb bastards. What plan did Osibajo do to make your life better? Even if people in Ikene, they are struggling to have 3 square meal. People in Ikene doesn't even have, sorry about that, they don't even have power bank like the one where I get, because the kind of power bank that comes to Nigeria, either through the Igbos, are going to bring them and do less quality, no control for the produce of this kind of materials. We can do power bank. What is there in power bank? You guys have the brain. I've seen Yoruba people produce, prototype of things. I've seen the Igbos. I've even seen the Hausas. We are all great people, but the bastard politicians have put us against each other. And you're gonna come here and gonna talk. My shikwe fun yayini, bomb bastard. Somebody say, stop swearing, Oloshi. 10 million Africans were killed by King Leo of Belgium during the colonial era. Yeah, stop swearing. I don't like you when you swear, bomb bastard. If I no swear for you, who I go swear for? Let's come together in one formidable unit. All the hatred that we are fighting each other on the social media, they fight Igbo people. They're gonna take Lagos from us. I've even seen people say they are now even in their council. Then let them go so that we can stop them from taking over our places. My brother says triple DRS, economic plan that will only favor their sponsors. Sometimes I just hope that I can open your brain and pour something inside. Forget about all the one way you're not going to listen for Seun Okinbaloye. All that nonsense. Seun Okinbaloye is doing very well. You know they see the way the guy they chop up. Go and look at Kola Otitoju. The way that they chop up. They go just do analysis. And behind the scene that they take care of them. You think they know they take care of all these journalists? If I wanted to be in that route, I would have done so and facilitated myself back to Nigeria as far back as 2015. Then I'll be licking the asses of all these politicians. So you go and be sitting down there, be talking, be listening to analysis. This guy great. He's a great analyst. Apart from Rufai Oseni that speaks the truth to the power. I'm not talking about that bomb bastard, call himself Dr. Abati. His head like coconut. Or you go and be listening to Reno. Reno, we don't chop money. That won't even get, you go and tell you, hey, you have to invest money. Money where you no get, where you go invest them? After they don't chop money under Jonathan. Jonathan, the drunk bastard politician. He never knew what was happening around him when he's drunk. How he got his PhD, only God knows. Open the vault for the PDP. They suck Nigeria dry. You think one is good and the other. You think say Atiku na good man or they. I see Dele Momodu defending Atiku and say, yeah, I have to defend Atiku because the same way Tinubu was fighting Obasanjo. And it looks like, it seems that Dele Momodu thinks that he's being bullied on the social media. And he's a Yoruba man. But from Edo or Benin or wherever he's from. Somebody say, I don't smoke, I don't drink, and I don't buy any subscription for my TV. For years now, he only buys data to listen to what is happening around the world. And kudos to you, my brother Falayon. Now, woto, airborne. Me are the Badon de Biafra. Can't even wait. Biafra, beg, donate money for your government in exile. Making it quick. While we still the talk. When we are ready, we will activate. So we are not running the same race. Me, I can't wait for the Biafra to move further. And that's why I stick with them. If Biafra start Wahala, I will fly, go down there. I know say if I tell them so I'm going, they'll sponsor me. Biafrans are not joking. Not because they're with me all the time. I know. They're fed up of Nigeria. We don't even like each other anyway, so why do we want to stick together? I have my cousins that marry to Igbo, and I have family friends that marry. Doesn't mean that we will not live together. But right now, the unity is just so bad. So Buhari is trending. Let's see why Olori Buruku Buhari is trending today. According to this one, Sonto Konko, and some of them are in support of DOS. So, and some of them are autopilot. Sometimes, you know, I don't know, this Neferati, Kemi Onuloyo keeps saying that is a female, is a male, not female. It's just a pretender. But I don't know. But he doesn't like Tinubu. He wants Peter Obi to come and be our president. Mokinyi Professor Eka Rosa. I'm not going to mention the rest of the name. These are doctors or professors that have traveled to Abuja, try to fix your healthcare. Don't bastard. They're not going to give them opportunity because these ones doesn't want to be corrupt. They have integrity. These are people I've worked with in UK. Professor, no be professor way now they use by Chishino. I want to fix Nigeria. I pity a lot of Nigerians in diaspora. Anyway, they're not going home anyway. So sometimes I was following one of my sisters. I'm not going to mention her name. They are part of what they call the Kanuk, Central Association of Nigeria UK. They went to do Nigeria a bastard country. They went to Manchester, I think last week or the week before, I don't know. So I saw when they posted it that anybody that wants to do passport, they should travel down to Manchester because most of the time people have to come to London. It's too far away. This is why we are saying that this country is just too big to manage. People with Scotland will travel to London. Olori Buruku Embassy. When I go there, go do my passport, make not tell me nonsense. Abara Fawala. So they said everybody should meet in Manchester so that they can make it at a point to do passport. Let me see if I can read the report from this, my sister. Let me go on my Instagram because it will be better for me to read it so that I don't fabulate. Again now. I'm not going to mention the name on air. What's her name again? Cheese and bread. And I normally see her each time I go on my Instagram. Nigeria. Hey, Portable. What in Portable they talk again? Justice from Mobile. Hey, look at them. Daily Mamodo don't post the day inside private jet. Yeah. This man big sha. Adeleke. But he's very active. So look at, you know, Saraki is a dangerous man. He plays as if he's an innocent man. You know, he still wants to be a president. Saraki, Bukola Saraki, green snake under the grass. You just have to look at the body language. Let me just put Kanuk. Okay, I think I can find through Kanuk. Okay, I've seen Kanuk, so maybe if I click that, it will give me. So they went to Manchester with the hope that they will be able to. Okay, let me see who is following Kanuk here. So they said people should come to Manchester so that they can do passport. Bomb bastard country. You know, okay, material, okay. A material, you know, professor Nebibai. Yeah, okay, let me go on this one. No. Yeah, I've seen the person I'm looking for. I'm not going to mention her name, even though she's a public figure, but I won't mention her name. I'll just leave that for myself to deal with. So where is our report? So on, okay, I've seen something that she posted. So last week she posted that this month October they told Nigerians in UK that a 5-day event is being organized for new Nigerian passport applicants and those awaiting appointment to have their biometric capture in UK. Events start on Monday the 16th of October and it will end on Friday from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. You would think that they would have prepared for this kind of event for people that wants to come and apply for their passport and whatever. Recently, I was drafted to help organize a passport intervention exercise whereby people who have submitted applications for passport renewal and are waiting for their biometric capture can come to Manchester to do so, in many cases 4 months before originally booked date. The program opened up this opportunity to about 1,000 people. Free tickets were opened up via Eventbrite, and in less than 24 hours, 75% tickets were snatched up. As a result, we had to open up an additional date, which also got swiftly sold out. As at yesterday, I was still getting inquiries about additional tickets for students, people who require new passport for work, travel, and all kinds of requirements, but unfortunately, we are completely sold out. An analytical check this morning, just before collating the names and handing them over, I found to my surprise some people booking 10 tickets, some across all the 6 days, some with made-up names. This upcoming registration took up at least 10% so far detected. Nigerian thing. Book your own ticket. The person go and book extra ticket. Maybe they want to sell it. Look at the mentality. Book your own. They realize that more people were booking than what they cannot, what they don't need. They see that Nigerianness way inside our body. You think say only Nigeria they do that nonsense. This is highly sought after exercise with several people desperate for ticket. For many, it is an opportunity to fast-track their passport application progress to enable them to travel for Christmas. Yet, some anarchists would hijack this event just for fun. So, what is wrong with our people? No wonder we end up with veiled leaders. The heart of many of our people is extremely, bluntly, and desperately wicked. Ha ha ha. We've got the background of the problem. Now, this is the outcome of that engagement. Let me go and see where she posted that. And I just laughed when I read it. I was like, even at the teluna, you know. But these ones, they live in UK, so at the end of the day, okay, I think this will be the outcome. So 3 days ago, she posted this again, and when I saw it, I was just laughing my head off with Nigeria. Nigeria is a dead country. With all the brains, we get professor, we get people who don't do inside politics in this country. You will expect that UK should be standard away from all this rubbish. It's still the same thing. You would think that UK, where we dey, should be, should be the proper pay setter. Show me boy animal low, me triple DRS. We should be like the pay setter. So the same thing where they happen for Ikoyi, for passport office. Now they happen. Look, the one in UK is even worse than the one where they Ikoyi, because Ikoyi you feel even go through quicker than here. And we hope whoever Tinubu is bringing as an ambassador will deal with that problem. But it can't, because the Northerners control the immigration in London. Buffoons. You don't know what you are dealing with. So this is what she posted. I read it, I just laughed. Please, does any of my 3,000 contacts have the contact details for the new Interior Minister, Dr. Olubunmi Tunji Ojo, with a question mark? Why does she need the contact of this man? You go hear him now. I need to have a direct discussion with him regarding the insurance of name and passport to Nigerians in the UK. It is time someone start to consider diasporans not just as fundraising cash cows for inept, ineffective services and lousy customer relation. But as a legitimate service user who are legally entitled to receive good and timely outcomes from the services they paid for far too long, different Nigerian departments have treated Nigerians outside the country shabbily and disrespectfully without due consideration for the effort and sacrifice people have to put into access services such as passport appointment in London. The totally shambolic passport intervention exercise in Manchester, the one where they don't tell every Nigerians, come and get your passport for Manchester, or come and get your passport, or people don't book them. Even some Olori Buruku people book. I mean, he only needs one, but he don't book 6. Bomb bastard. You would think that the same thing way that they do for Joe Elegba, they don't bring and call London. Olori Buruku people. The same nonsense that they were doing in Nigeria, they didn't leave it in Nigeria. They live here and they've done the same rubbish. Book 1 ticket, they don't book 10 tickets because they are ready to sell the remaining. The same mentality. And you expect us to continue in that trajectory. And if UK cannot set the pace, you expect Nigeria to set the pace for you. The joke. So she's talking about the shambolic passport intervention exercise with Nigerian High Commission. Bomb bastard. They can't organize something in UK. You wonder the kind of people they put there. They should sack every one of them and put the right people, even if they're Oyibo people. Let them put it there. The shambolic Nigerian High Commission. Ijote mi mama wa try that nonsense. Okudie. Eriwere lori. People pay £200 through the back to get their passport. Brother, this is the mago is in our DNA. Let's continue. The totally shambolic passport intervention exercise in Manchester is a very good example. How in God's good name do you register 1,000 people, 200 daily, to come from all over the UK to have their biometric capture, but you only turn up with, guess what, 1 machine, thereby only managing to capture 96% on the first day. Look, the Olori Buruku embassy came with 1 machine. How much is the machine? You want to capture 200 people every day for 5 days, that's 1,000. They came with 1 machine. Machine. So you can see the frustration. So you think, say, you're in Nigeria. The frustration Nigerians are getting here in UK, some of them can commit suicide with the kind of frustration with that embassy. They came with 1 machine to capture 200 people. So that literally means that they were only managed to capture 96 people on the first day. This is something that they've planned. They are aware that 200 people will be captured every day, and they came with 1 machine. And only God knows how much they've charged the federal government for extra machine. It's just because I don't get time for the Nigerian community anymore. My job is not there anymore. If not, therefore don't hear when. But the reason why I'm talking about it right now, because my mind just went there. Because I am not part of the Nigerian community anymore, as far as I'm concerned. I have good relationship with the individuals, but I don't have any business with whatever they are doing in the Nigerian community. I served them already for more than 10 years. So my job now is Yoruba Nation campaign. I don't care whatever is happening within the bomb-bastard Nigerian community anymore. I have good relationship with the individuals there, but anything that got Nigerian community, I don't give a toss. And they don't burn anybody out. They call my name out. I will call their name out anyhow. Now UK we did. I have served the Nigerian community with due diligence, and I never got paid for that. Even they couldn't recognize me up to 2017. Somebody said, Koiki never get award now. There's a program I did with a particular group in this country. A professor is listening to me right now. The amount of money that was donated, £1 till date, I did not get. Bomb bastard. The professor is listening to me right now. I'm not going to tell you which of the platform. He knows the event I'm talking about because he was part of those that managed the event on behalf of the other people who do the event. I'm not going to mention the event, so that I'll just leave that. The event was, Kano State Governor was here. Sanusi, who was here. We walk around the clock. Put my service there, put my strength there. I left my house for more than 3 days. I came back, I couldn't tell my wife this is 10 pounds from that event. And the event get money. I'll leave that for another day. That one at the cooker. I'm just waiting for one of them, to reference me anywhere. And I'll go and look at the record of who is that person. I'd Basifumo. Bomb bastard. Use and done. Ṣé mi wá jẹ́ get the charity organization? The better than charity left defraud. Some of you think all those people where they Europe, especially UK, you think they're normal. They go wear suit, take picture, go UN, go Dubai, go this, go that, take put on Instagram, do big Oyinbo write up. They are all fraudsters, bomb bastards. They do all these, NGO to defraud people. About being that king of reference or coming. And I still have good pictures anyway. I took pictures with some of the Okoya children, very nice children. Say, hello, how are you? What's your name? Tell me their name. Yeah, now you be Okoya. I'm on logo. That event was massive. Big event. But I'm not going to give you details about the event. Big event too, for this country. Who is who flew from all over the world. They don't chop money. Maybe they pay us now, they don't pay us. The same thing I went to do for Sanusi and Bola Shagaya. Till date, maybe that my auntie will say they have paid her so that she can pay me for my own commission. She media why they get a free job. Imagine you take picture with Sanusi and Bola Shagaya, or you put on social media, people think say you don't collect good money. You say free service, then they don't pay you. The same thing I go do for Igbinedom. One event like that. That one every year. I don't know the business where they don't sign with. Some of you don't even know whether they've sold you off. Because I don't know what relationship Igbinedom have with the king of Ashanti in Ghana. But I'm told that every year he brings the event here to celebrate the man. All the ambassadors from African countries were there. I still have all the business cards. Make sure you send me the picture. I said, okay, how am I going to send it to you? Don't give anybody. This is the private number. That one there is just for public. Imagine ambassador, they tell me that. I said, which of the numbers, should I send it to? Don't send it to the top one. That one is for public. They write their real number at the back. Media job no easy, and some of them say, don't let madam know this is the real original number. Okay, if you send message to me, Mambo. My eyes don't see for this country. I remember the job where I go do for Oshoba. I got paid a little bit. That's small token. The big people don't chop big money. They go only give us peanuts. I don't suffer for this country safe for long. Oh my God. So let's finish, because I got to close the broadcast now. I've done enough already. It's almost 8 o'clock. I need to go back to bed. So they brought one machine to Manchester to capture Nigerians that they've told that they should come. Imagine people have left their jobs. They've booked a day off with the hope. Richard saying, sir, Oko indicate by face and message. Mark Tibakwari program. Kintolo bed bada. Imagine the ensuring repercussion on the preceding days, of which one was cancelled at the last minute. Imagine the inconveniences caused for people who travel as far as Scotland to Manchester so that they can get capture for their passport. Imagine with their children for the exercise only to be told it has been cancelled. I can bet by now there's a total whitewash report on the minister desk on how successful the program was. It was nothing but, and he needs to know. This is Nigerian trying to get passport in UK. This is not last year, this is this month. This was 3 days ago. The event was on the 16th, which is about last week. It was meant to be 5 days event. They brought in one machine for capture. And they go down write report, send them to Abuja, say everything was nice and cozy, everything. So this my beautiful sister that I've worked with in the community, I'm not going to mention her name, now wrote this report on the Instagram. Shit, oh country. That is the country that you want to save. I will bring it down with my messages every day. And on that note, I gotta go now. Thank you so much for being part of the program. If you just join us, it is almost 2 hours 45 minutes that we've done. I gotta go back to bed. Thank you so much. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Oh hey Biafra, oh hey Biafra. Arewa people, I greet you. I don't have any problem with all the ethnic groups. But what we are saying is, we give you 7 days. It's calm down. Leave Iwere. If not, Igbo is coming to deal with you guys. That's all I can say. Bye for now. What about bombing? Triple DRS. Bye for now. Thank you so much, Okoya. Bye for now. Anytime, Mr. Bamidele. Bye for now.